What's good? All right. Welcome to another wonderful day of talking about this boxing. Do something real quick. Make sure I turn down this volume real quick on this other screen. Marlon So Icy Sims, what's good, man? Drew Titan said, Pauli responded poorly. Player Pauli responded and is now following you on Instagram. I will have a discussion with him face to face, hopefully soon. Hey, knock yourself out, dog. Make sure you tell him I told him. Dummy. Man, it just be amazing me, man, how people just say stupid shit. I'll let you know in a second, man, what I'm talking about, though. Marlon So Icy Sims in the building. What's good, man? Leon Robinson. Straight box with straight right. Let me go over here to this other screen, man. Salute to you, Leon Robinson. So look, let's talk about. I'll wait for some people to come in. Oh man, yeah. Dre's finest in the building. What's going on, man? What's good to all? What's good on to my yellow dots and my green dots out there? AG Lex, nothing. Everything's good, man. Just did my videos today. Did some work today. You know, got my work done for the gig. It amazes me how people always want to tell you how to do your job when they don't know how to do your job. But so yeah, let's kick it off, man. Let's get it going. I know I'm running a little. I started a little early because I had noticed the Trill Boxing Talk got off, so I don't want to take too much, time in between the two. But so let's get into it, man. So Floyd Mayweather Jr. Two things that are in the title. One is that Floyd Mayweather Jr. Says something I think is pretty true. He warned boxers like, hey man, if you're gonna sign somebody, you might want to sign with Al Heyman, especially seeing his boxing. These purses that these guys are getting in boxing are about to go boop, boop, boop down because you can't get anybody. There's going to be no crowds. If there's no crowds, that means there's no gate. If there's no gate, that means there's less money for you. There's less money to go around. And the more people you have in your pocket looking for the money, the less money you're going to make. So even though I do believe that it'll probably still affect the fighters in that are with Mayweather promotion, not Mayweather, but are with the PBC, the fact that they don't have promoters, mean that of the money that is going to be generated in the fight, by the fight, they should get their reduction in salary should be less, or pay would be less than people that still have to split it with their promoter. And I don't know exactly when it's just a television deal with no ticket sales, what exactly do you need a promoter for? You're not trying to sell any tickets. You know what I mean? Like the promoter, at least my understanding of it is that, you have site promoters, you have people in areas that know how to get the people that live in those towns to come to the fight. But if all there is television revenue and there is no ticket sales, then you don't need people whose primary function is to sell tickets. You need the networks to promote the fights on their networks. So it seems to me that the promoter seems to be of the people whose money should be getting hit in this scenario. If it was true that boxers actually work for promoters, you would think that it would be the promoter who would be out of the money and not the fighter. Oh, to the larger extent. You know what I mean? So I think that was a pretty good. I think that's a pretty solid observation from Floyd Mayweather Jr. I said exactly that to a friend, especially someone like Crawford. Yeah. Like, what is Bob Arum? Bob Arum ain't selling any tickets. And also, it doesn't matter all this talk about you can't draw flies to a dumpster, right? Excuse me, I gotta pick up my seat. Well, look, all it is TV now, so what do you need them for? Well, if you're already signed to them, you need them because you're in a contract with them. And you can't fight for anybody other than them. But if you don't have a promoter, then you can bid yourself out, theoretically, to promoters that might need you for a card, or a PBC card where all they have is a site promoter, like Tom Brown or Lou DiBella ain't there anymore. But yeah, man, I think that is something that people need to be really careful. I mean, consider, especially if you're going into, like, you're coming out of the amateurs now and you're going pro. Might want to think about that. The other thing, and I'll start answering questions after that. I got to give you the background on what I said about Pauli and what Drew Titan is talking about. So Drew Titan and Pauli Malignaggi had a back and forth with one another. And Pauli Malignaggi, I'm telling you, people don't think about what they say. Pauli Malignaggi said that the Moors, Africans, had raped and pillaged Italy, right? So he was basically, my understanding was he was saying that African slaves were, went through all this stuff in the United States, right? But, his people were just as mistreated or more mistreated because the Moors invaded Italy and took over Italy, right? And raped and pillaged. Hey, man, let me ask you, does any of you guys know how biology works? Like how reproduction works? Let me tell you, hey, Pauli, let me tell you how reproduction works. If a man and a woman have sex, then the child is related to the father and the mother. Does that make sense to you? Let me repeat this, because this is the foundation of my criticism of Pauli's stupidity. You have a father who was an African, right? A Moor that came and had sex with a Sicilian woman, and they had kids. And those kids had kids. And those kids had kids, and on and on and on. And there was a bunch and it happened for several hundred years, right? So there was a bunch of black dudes in Italy having babies with Italian women. Guess what? That makes those black men, guess what that makes them relative to Pauli Malignaggi? Can anybody tell me what that makes him, what that makes those guys, those Africans, relative to Pauli Malignaggi? What's good, Gravy Davy? I'll tell you what it makes them. It makes them his ancestors. It makes them his ancestors. Not mine, his. So, if you want to bitch about your great-great-granddaddy sleeping with your great-great-great-great-grandmama, fucking complain to yourself. Don't complain to me. That makes them motherfuckers your ancestors, okay? And your black-haired ass wouldn't be around if it wasn't for them. It's your people that pillaged Italy, not mine. Thank you very much. So I'm like, dude, that just shows you the dude is a racist. Because he doesn't even see the fact that the people that he's criticizing are his own people. Aren't they? What's going on, Juniper P? Aren't they? Wouldn't they be? Right? But no, the Moors were just, according to his logic, the Moors were just a group of people that raped and pillaged, and then where did they go? You remember that thing? What was it? True Romance? You remember that speech in True Romance? I know you remember that, Pauli. You were sired by niggas, which means that's what you are, homie. That's what you are. Those Moors are your people. So you want to complain about somebody raping and pillaging? You raped and pillaged Italy. Your ass did. If we are, what's going on? 78 said the BBC turned Romans into Italians. They did. Absolutely, 78. But the thing that kills me is, dude, they don't even realize that he didn't even understand that that's what he was saying. And by the way, Pauli, they didn't have to rape him. Ain't too many black dudes running around with a bunch of money, running the country, need to rape them. They're the ones with the money. They're the ones with the houses. They're the ones with all the shit. They were running the place. Guess what happens when you're running the place? Women give you it. They give it over hundreds of years. You think hundreds of years them dudes, all they were doing is raping? You think they just raped for 100 years? Every Italian woman that they had, that they were with, they raped them? No, guess what they did? They married them. Yeah, they did. They married them. They kept them in their houses. They had baby after baby after baby after baby after baby with them. And here you come, right? Talking about your player, right? Bragging that you black from the waist down, all that type of shit y'all talk about. Dog, those are your people, homie. Don't be putting that shit on us. Now, on the other hand, black women were legitimately raped, as if had no right to self-defense. And the fathers didn't take care of the kids. They put the kids into slavery. Their kids became slaves. Did the Italian kids of the Moors become slaves? Did they treat them like dogs and sell them like chattel? I don't know. That'd be an interesting conversation for somebody that knows of that time period. I would be interested. However, I know this. Your ass just admitted what everybody knows about them Sicilians. But don't blame us. Blame your granddaddy, okay? Blame your granddaddy. Pauli is showing his weird ass dude. Oh, yeah, man, G5, what's going on? Much love for that super chat. Pauli probably won't acknowledge the Moors. He did, Pugilist Skiznik. He tried to use the Moors as a way to equate the plight of Italians with the plight of blacks in America. You got to go to the Instagram for Drew Titan. But that's what he said. He said, "Don't go there with me, playa. If you want to talk about oppression, whatever, the Moors did all this stuff to Italy, to Sicily. They raped and they pillaged. Yeah, your granddads did do that shit. Absolutely. That's why your hair is black, homie. Remember what is it? The northern ones. What was the saying? They said blonde hair and blue eyes turn to black hair and black eyes. Pauli has black hair, black eyes, and is from Sicily, the southern portion of Italy, which means when he's complaining about people raping and pillaging, he is complaining about his own ancestors doing it. But this is why I say just that it would be almost impossible with somebody with his mindset to recognize in a respectful manner that his ancestors were black. He changed his ancestors. Look at the mental trick he had to do. He had to change his own ancestors into rapists and pillagers because they were black, and then separate them from his other ancestors, who I suppose were the raped and pillaged. You can't have it both ways, dude. That's not how biology works, man. If the fact is your ass wouldn't be here but for those Moors, right? Because some other blonde-haired, blue-eyed man would have had a baby with a blonde-haired, blue-eyed man, a girl, and they would have had a bunch of kids, and your ass wouldn't even be in existence. So maybe your black-haired, black-eyed ass needs to go thank the Moors for busting them nizzies in your grandmama. I can't hate it, dog. I can't help it. He tried to equate the Moors in Italy with the plight of blacks in America. This dude is fucking. Now, look, here's something, though. First of all, it's distinctly different because we were not conquered in America. We were shipped here. Okay? That's something completely different. You were shipped here. It wasn't a matter of rapes. It was a matter of kidnapping and terrorism and entering into a state of being a chattel slave over time. But still, that's what it is. It wasn't a matter of somebody invading our country, going through shit and then eventually people leaving. It's two entirely different scenarios. But biology still works the same way, which is why I always say to you guys, like, people will say, you talk about Europeans and whether or not they're, you say that was savage but funny. It's the truth. Hey, man, you need to thank them dudes from running up in there and running up in your grandmama, because your ass wouldn't have been here, dude. You wouldn't have been here. I said he hates us and himself for it. Yeah. But do you hear the admission? That was an admission. Thank you, Pauli. But you also let me know what your mindset is. See, because I know, for example, I know that there are European men. Oh, by the way, he also said this stupid shit. He's not European, he's a redneck. That, no, dumbass Pauli. Let me tell you how biology works too. See, it's like he doesn't have, it's like he's lost in this biology thing, okay? If you have two European parents and both European parents move to the United States and have a child, though that child is still European. The same way that Pauli Malignaggi considers himself to be Italian, he says he's Italian, right? Well, he wasn't born in Italy. So if neither were the parents of the rednecks that you're talking about, those rednecks are European. You can look right in their face and you see they are European. But he's like, they're not European. They're dude is just fucking talking all over the fucking place. European Americans, if I am an African American, your ass is a European American. Period. If a Chinese dude that is born in that has his parents are both Chinese and their parents were born and raised in Chicago, and those guys' parents before were all Chinese and they were all born and raised in born and raised in Chicago. Do you know what they call them? Chinese Americans, all of them. So if Chinese of American descent are Chinese Americans, if Mexicans who had generation after generation after generation of people in the United States are Mexican Americans, why wouldn't you be a European American? Is there something fucking difficult about that, you dumbass? They all come from USA. Whites are European. Italy is in Europe. Rednecks are European. No different. Dude, they're all European. But see, that's why I say, and I did do the forward to my author notes book, dog. I'm going to put it up on Patreon. That's why I say, dude, that one of the most racist terms that there is in all of the fucking world is white. That I will not believe that they are serious at all about solving the problem of racism as long as they call themselves white. A collective unit of Europeans, while everybody else is some subdivision of the American population. If I'm an African American, you're an European American. If that person is a Mexican American and that person is a Chinese American, then your ass is a European American. And it does. And here's the thing. Pauli Malignaggi's people ain't even been here that long. They've been here, what, since Ellis Island? I mean, maybe after Ellis Islands, because before that, they weren't letting the Italians come over. They weren't coming over here. It was during the Industrial Revolution that they started to allow more Irish, more of those immigrants to come over to the United States. They say Kirstie Lynch said, I'm not African American. Yeah, I mean, I can understand why you would say that. White Americans like to drop the European title because they want to act as though they are the Americans. They're European. Yeah, I'm American. I'm not European. No, you're European. You just came over here and conquered the whole fucking thing. That's it. But you're still European. Your name, you still speak European languages. Aren't we speaking English? What's going on, D-Style? I'm speaking English, aren't I? You speak English, don't you? That's a European language. So you celebrate European holidays, don't you? Fuck out of here, dude. You're European American, but you just don't want to be called a European American. You want to be called the nice, safe thing that prevents you from having your own tribal shit that was going on over there in Europe to affect you here into some big, grand clump of non-existent shit called white. Fuck out of here, dude. Pauli's brains are shredded from Sean Porter fight. Yeah, I want to see him come out. Can he come back out of retirement? I would love it. Let me see Pauli come out of retirement. But I just thought that was hilarious, man. More is a descriptive term that white people called educated blacks. Is that what it is? I don't know. I don't even pretend to really know. I know that through the Ottoman Empire. I thought it was the Ottoman Empire. But regardless, you know, I know that the Africans were the military arm of, I thought that they were the military arm of the Ottoman Empire. But, you know, that's hard. I never really focus much on that specific type of European history. What's going on, D-Style Boxing, man? Make sure y'all subscribe to my man D-Style Boxing. Moors religion? No, I thought Moors were Muslims. Moors were Muslim. They're Islamic. That's what my understanding was. But it is what it is, man. Optimistically cynical. Didn't Jesse Jackson popularize the term African American? He didn't popularize it. There was a big push. There was a big push to get Pete to stop being called black and to be called African American. And yeah, he was one of the people that were talking about it. But Jesse Jackson ain't the one that got that shit changed on fucking birth certificates and, you know, shit like that. Yeah, but Jesse Jackson, that was around the time that people really started pushing that and trying to, you know, we need to be called African Americans, right? When his ass is running for president. Man, fuck off, dude. I've been black the whole time. Born black, gonna die black. Pauli's break, yeah. Said, I know my ancestors from Turtle Island. Yeah, that's crazy. What's going on, Calvin Johnson? So yeah, I just had to do that, man. I had to talk about, because Pauli just keeps digging himself in that hole. Junior B, I like the term black. Well, the thing is that it got a pop, is that, and this is the funny thing to me. I was like, dude, like, I know that people call people black skin before, but once it, oh, there you go. 78 said Moors are Muslim. White folk overseas call black people Moors out of respect. There you go. But yeah, I know it's not I know that it is that they were Islamic. Our names have been changed throughout time. John, yeah, man. Oh, time. What hereby? It is what it is, man. With what you call me, but I just thought that shit was funny. More is a descriptive term, such as Phoenician. Thank you. I will have to educate myself on the subject because I don't know anything more about it and what is generally bandied about. Because when I was actually in school, they didn't teach any of that shit. When I was a kid, literally, we came out of the jungle. That was what I was taught when I was in grade school. That we were hunter-gatherers running around killing each other in the jungle. That was what was taught to white kids about black people. See, I was in the class, right? But they didn't write the books for me because I was the only little dark spot in the whole place. But the education that not parents of Pauli Malignaggi, but there were a lot of Italians there. I grew up around a lot of Italians. I grew up around a lot of Eastern Europeans. The education that they received early on in school was that black people came out of the jungle and that there was no civilization. That basically that slavery was what they call manifest destiny. It was the white man's responsibility to civilize wayward and unproductive people. Right? That's what they were taught. And which is what gets me about this idea that racism is not structural or racism is not systematic. Dude, if you learn the shit in school, don't you go to a school system? I could have sworn they taught that shit in school. I know they taught that shit in school. I was taught that in school. And it never made sense to me. I was like, for years, it's like, and that's why some of the black, if you guys remember, I know I ain't on boxing today. Does our name change more than anybody on earth? I wouldn't know. I couldn't tell you, man. What's going on, the real McCoy? But that's why the whole idea of Pan-Africanism, not Pan-Africanism. What do you call it? Afrocentrism, right? Afrocentric education was looking at so what's Big Dog Willie said public service announcement, fuck Billy White. It was looking at world history from the viewpoint of the African, right? That's what it was supposed to be. Like, what was it when you were a lot of history is told from the viewpoint a lot of times of the person that conquered, right? That's why you call it history, his story. But there's also the story of the people that were colonized, right? And that's where that's why I said, oh, and I forgot, dude. Somebody asked me about a really good book to read. I forgot. Pedagogy of the Oppressed. Pedagogy of the Oppressed. DefMec 26 said, many of us blacks are actually native to this land and were not brought over from Africa. America is our land. It would take a complete rewiring of the brains of 99% of Americans for people to accept that, even if it was true. Because the story that you're told is that there was nothing here. Isn't that what you learned? That there was nothing here? That there was a few people here and there, but there were wild Indians and shooting areas, eating each other and doing shit like that? Isn't that what you were taught in school? Isn't that what your kids are still taught in school? Isn't school a system? Dumbass Pauli. If you teach that shit in school and it's not true, and the people that teach it know that it's not true, what is it? Isn't it indoctrination? I remember like it was yesterday sitting in my 5th grade class, and they played a video about Aboriginals in Australia. D-Style in the building. In Aboriginals in Australia. And you know the word that they used to describe it? I was bugging. Because even at that age, I didn't trust these motherfuckers for shit, right? Like, I didn't trust what they were teaching me because the shit didn't make sense, right? And also I had a self-interest in not believing it. Like, you're not just going to tell me that everybody that I came from is a bunch of fucking monkeys, okay? That shit don't make no fucking sense to me. Because I can speak. I can read, I can write, I can think. So I know that they could think, they can write, they can do all of these. I know that because I can do it. So the idea that all of these people were too stupid to know how to cook their own food and build a house, you know what I mean? It's just beyond fucking belief to me, right? Like, I never believed that crap about the Bering Straits and how, people walked all the way up to the top of the world and then turned over, then walked all the way down. And that's how the population spread throughout the world, as if people were that stupid to not know that wood floats on water and you can cut off a tree, empty it out, stand in the middle of it, and the water will push you. If they were that fucking stupid, how in the world did humanity ever get to the fucking point? How do we ever get to the point of being able to move around? How did you ever learn how to plant food? You know what I mean? This shit is just, dude, it's fucking stupid. But they know it. They know it's stupid. But they just want you to believe it because it's not important. And remember, this social studies is not about teaching you history. It's about making you a good citizen. That's what education is about. Education is not the purpose of educating somebody is to make them a functional member of the society. And it will end teaching you the truth about the establishment of the country is not conducive with making you somebody that is going to support the system and continue to make sure it thrives, because you will have an issue with it at its core. They don't teach you that shit for a reason, because it doesn't work for them. It will make you question and see, well, if this wasn't always here, do you understand how radical an idea this is? That, oi, Fannon, I want to smoke. You want to smoke? Hey, Damien out here, you want some smoke with me? Is that what you want? You want to smoke with me? Tell me you want to smoke with me. I dare you. You'll get to smoke. I promise. Tell me you want to smoke with me again. Quiet, ain't gonna say it. Ain't gonna repeat yourself. You scared? You scared of the smoke? I'll wait. You got a couple more seconds, Damien. Just reiterate that you want to smoke with me so you can come get it. Nah, he don't want to smoke. He didn't say nothing else. He didn't want to smoke. That's all right. You didn't want to smoke. You just talking. You just bumping off at the lips. You don't really want to smoke. Gregory Small, some boxing talk, please. This is getting way too deep. I'm over here in London. Oh, I did. I just talked about boxing. We're talking about Pauli Malignaggi. Talking about Pauli Malignaggi. How Pauli Malignaggi, who's a boxing expert, was talking to another boxing fan, and he brought all this shit up. Dude, he didn't want to smoke. Just a little bit. I did. Hey, look, dude, I got to talk about what I got to talk about. 78 said that the earth is our turf. Stop acting like we from here or there. We own the planet, period. Salute to the mighty LDBC. Smash the like button. Send a super chat, nigga. Yeah, send a super chat, man. Stop being cheap is what 78 says. Hey, I appreciate it. Oh, but he's just smart because I was going to throw his ass out anyway. That's all I was going to do. I was going to smoke him with this get the fuck out button. Nah, he didn't want to smoke. He just was going to get kicked out, just straight up. That's all was going to happen, dog. I was just leading him. I was trying to be colorful and lead his ass to a cliff and throw his ass the fuck up off, dude. Unhide CJ. I can't unhide. Where is CJ? Oh, he's timed out. He wasn't hidden. He's CJ's timed out, dude. He's not blocked. But yeah, no, this is just. Yeah, he didn't want to step up because he was gonna get thrown out anyway, dude. Seriously, man. Anybody dumb enough to say some shit like that wasn't really gonna be worth talking about anyway. Hey man, thanks, Corey. What's going on, man? Retro Boxing and Documentaries, man. Make sure you subscribe to Retro Boxing Documentaries. But yeah, man, I just thought that was really funny with Pauli, dude, because it's like, do you realize Pauli Malignaggi, the boxing commentator, that if you admit that the Moors, which we all know, will run in Italy, right, for a very long period of time, that you're a descendant of a Moor. And if you're a descendant of the Moor, then that's your people that did all the shit you're complaining about. But the only reason that you would not think of those people as your people is because you're a fucking racist. Like, see, I know for sure that I'm descendants of people from Greece. I know it. Okay. I know because there's white Greek people in my hometown that are related to me. Not in my hometown, where I am, that are related to me. My family does 23andMe, and there's a bunch of them spread all over the place. So if you say that Europeans are the Neanderthals, right, and they come from the Neanderthals, then I have to say, well, guess what? I got a little Neanderthal in me because I am descended from them. I personally cannot say that I believe that all white people are the devil, because if that's the truth, then I am part of the devil. But I'm not going to deny that is actually there, right? Because I'm not a racist. Because I know that we are groups, that we are the same group of, that we are just people. I know that. At least I believe that. Oh, Drew Style, man, much love, D Style. What do you want to say, man? Just say it in the comment section, man. Drew Titan said, damn, super chat ain't working again. Drew, super chats are not necessary if you want me to read something. I appreciate the super chats. I really do. Put Fannon in big ass letters, because I can't, from where I am, I won't see it. I'm in like the back of it. But anyway, man, I'll look for your comment, D-Style. D-Style said, YouTube won't let me say anything in the super chats. Yeah, you know, it's YouTube, dude. The movie Roots is what referenced all that blacks came to America as slaves from Africa. No, it was way before that. Dude, blacks did come as slaves over to the United States, dude. Okay? They're just saying, what they're saying is, blacks lived in Greece also. Yeah, they did, but not my people. They weren't Greek. They're not. They're straight up Greek people. They ain't nothing too Negro about them, okay? And don't want nothing to do with Negroes either, just so you know. And didn't want nothing to do with Negroes. And those are people that are biologically related to me. I call them like, like you're an adopted kid, like my biological father, right? My biological relatives didn't want nothing to do with black people. And I don't believe that they do to this day. Because they wouldn't admit for shit we existed. Got a whole branch of black Greek people. My father is mixed, not a white and black parents. Both of his parents were mixed. Yeah, that's mixed shit. Okay, there you go. Disa, I want to say history class from 1st to 12th grade is bullshit. Texas history class never mentioned white settlers wanted to legally have slaves. Oh my God, man. Texas history is definitely wild. I'm reading the stuff that my son is bringing home to read, and I'm like, what are they saying? My father's mixed. Yeah, whatever, man. It's dude. But no, man, Africans did come over as slaves, and that's just not myth. That shit is true. They got chains and shit. My mother knew a slave. Okay, knew it. Well, you're saying they didn't come as that. They all came as slaves is the issue, I think, and I think that's reasonable because there were black people that were definitely here. There were black people that were definitely here because there was a country here, not a nation state like the European model of a nation state, right? Because the way that we think of nation states, like the country of the United States and individual states that are all of that shit that's a European model for the nation state, right? But there was an entire group. The land was heavily populated. It was heavily populated. 22 million. Some people say 22 million. Some people say as much as 100 million people were already here. But there was an invasion. Let me read something for you. Because I was actually going through this. Listen to this. This is called the culture of conquest. The discovery of gold and silver in America, the extirpation, enslavement, and entombment in minds of the Aboriginal population, the beginning of the conquest and looting of the West Indies, the turning of Africa into a warren for the commercial hunting of black skins, signaled the rosy dawn of the era of capitalist production. These idyllic proceedings are the chief monuments of prior accumulation. Karl Marx, the genesis of industrial capitalism, of the genesis of the industrial capitalist. Read it again. Because this is somebody from Germany. And what he is from a culture that understands the history of the world. The discovery of gold and silver in America. There were already people there, but then they discovered that there was gold and that there was silver. The exportation, enslavement, and entombment in minds of the Aboriginal population. So what did he say that they did to the people that were here? He is saying that they knew people were here. They just discovered that there was a lot of money here. So what did they do? They extirpated, enslaved, and entombed in minds the original population. And get rid of the word ab from that and just say original, because then it makes sense. The discovery of gold and silver in America, the extirpation, enslavement, and entombment in minds of the original population. The beginning of the conquest and looting, conquest, not discovery, conquest of the West End of the East Indies and turning of Africa into a warren for commercial hunting of black men. Do you see how specific he describes these things in a way that actually makes it make sense? The hunting, commercial hunting of black skins. What did you just see that these people are still trying to defend with Aubrey? Not commercial hunting, but hunting nonetheless. Signaled the rosy dawn of the era of capitalist production. These idyllic proceedings are the chief moments of prior accumulation, which means that it was built the way that Karl Marx explained it. His description was his completely Eastern European, German, right? German, Russian, who were not involved for the most part in what happened in the Western Hemisphere, described it as a conquest. They discovered gold and minerals and they realized, whoa, there's a lot of money there. And they chose to go and conquer America. They conquered the US, the West Indies. And what did they do? They enslaved, they entombed the original inhabitants. Now, when you put the word aboriginal there, that makes it a little hard to get what the truth of the matter is. And it's the people who were originally there. But since Africans had been coming to the Americas for probably thousands and thousands of years, the what do you call it? The sea path to the United States or to the Western Hemisphere was already well established and known. And they brought guns and weapons and took the shit over. It's the book that I told you about yesterday, The Indigenous People History of the United States. The winner of the 2015 PEN Oakland Award. This may be the most important U.S. history book you will read in your lifetime. Straight out of it. She is a PhD in history. She is a white woman. She is not Native American. She is not any of that. And in fact, what she says is this, which I thought is a beautiful statement. First word of the book is this. As a student of history, have I completed let me read that slowly. As a student of history, having completed a master's degree and PhD in the discipline, I am grateful for all that I learned from my professors and the thousands of texts that I've studied, but I did not gain the perspective presented in this book from the professors or studies. This came from outside the academy. So she's saying that that's not what she was taught. She was taught what we were taught. And then she goes through the system, and if you read the book, Roxanne Dunbar Ortiz. And if you read the book, she basically lays out that there was already a country here. There was already a country here. And but see what we're taught in school is that what? They discovered America. That's the story you give to children. You know, like the saying that, when I was a child, I thought as a child, but when I became an adult, I no longer thought that, I no longer behaved like a child. Henry Louis Gates said less than 100K. Dude, that's not what she said. She said millions. Millions. But whatever the case is, it is what it is. There's a difference between this. You cannot, and you should know this off the jump. You can't discover you cannot discover something where people already are. That's just something where you can't. No logical person would say that you discovered something that somebody already had. If I discover your wallet in your house, I broke in your house and stole your wallet. I didn't discover it. I stole it, right? But if I was the person that stole it, I would say, hey, I discovered it, right? Because I discovered it. I killed the people in the house. I burned their house down and I took their money. Oh, look, I discovered some money. Dude, this is logic. This is just logical. You know what I mean? Like I said, they turned cities into plantations and told you that you from Africa, so the 14th Amendment, they don't have to pay you. Well, you know, a lot of that is obvious there was also another book that I read. I know I'm really way off boxing. But a guy in things you learn in high school history, yeah, exactly, Kane Baez, it's like discovering Walmart, is this, in Illinois. D-Star said, I discovered boxing 20 years ago. Exactly. Well, look, just look at the town names. Just listen to Chicago, Milwaukee, Iowa, right? I bet Kansas. Those are all Native American names, right? And then if you look at the towns in Chicago, what are some of the names? Plainfield, Riverfield, right? They name things after fields. This is Plainfield. This is Springfield, right? Well, what is a field? A field is something that had been cleared out by somebody to establish a town in. It's a field, which means somebody was already there. Go through Mississippi and see how many places in Mississippi have Indian names. You think they did that shit just to pay homage to the people they were murdering? No. The names of the shit was already named that when they got there. You know what I mean? It was already named that when they got there. The United States was not discovered. It was conquered. Just like Alexander the Great, right? Alexander the Great is a conqueror, right? They come from a culture of conquerors. Think about it. When they talk about Roman emperors, when they talk about the Greeks, they talk about conquest. They said, the British Empire will go further than the eye can see. They were interested in conquesting lands that they already knew were there. They didn't discover shit. But in order to justify it to the people that inhabited it, they changed the story. And it's not difficult to understand. Oh, Justin said, I discover your channel. Exactly. Bogart School, thanks for the book. I'm going to read. Definitely worry about it. Focus Ball said, Sambo, Black Native Africans here 150 years before. Dude, there are Black people all over the world, which is why there are Black people all over the world right now. Because they didn't discover the world, dude. And that's why I call it Europe. And I don't say, Pauli, just so you know, not that he's listening. If he was listening, you can listen. That's why I say call Europeans Europeans. Call Europeans Europeans. Don't call Europeans white. Because they're not, number one. This is white. They're not white. Number two, where's the country of white? There is no country of white. You know what I mean? You're Italians, you're Irish, but you're either Eurasians, truly it's Eurasian, because that ain't even a continent, because Europe is connected to Asia. It's either Asia, Europe, or Eurasia. But at the end of the day, man, it's about the people that have the ability to tell you what to do, coming up with a justification for why you need to do it. That's because I said so type of shit. We grew up with because I said so history. That you can answer simple questions to teachers in second grade. But that's also, interestingly enough, I was listening to a podcast this morning about the media. I have not read this book, but I know I need to read this book, and more than likely I will read the book. There's a chance that I won't, but more than likely I will. And it is a talk about the manufacturing consent in the media. Manufacturing consent. And I'll switch on to boxing because Noam Chomsky, and I don't remember who the other guy that wrote the book. And I think my understanding is a seminal book on the function of media in the function of the present day function of media, which is not to give you information and to distribute information for you to make your decision, but it is to distribute propaganda that will allow you to consent to what it is that the elites want to do, right? And if you see that in political, in the political realm, I don't want to go anywhere near the political realm. I'm sick to death of it. I like talking about boxing. And one of the reasons when I started my channel, I was like, I don't want to do any of this political shit. Because I just like, I have no faith in it. No faith in Obama, no faith in Clinton, no faith in Trump, no faith in any of it. I just think that I just have no faith in it. And so me wanting to talk about it, dude, I'll do it if somebody wants to talk about it with me. But other than that, dude, I just try to exist like that shit doesn't even exist. I think it's that full of shit. So I said, let me start a channel and talk about boxing, because you can still talk about those things and see those things, because boxing is going to be a microcosm of the larger world. You're going to see a lot of the same things occur in the world of boxing that you see occur in the world of boxing. I mean, in the world of politics, just because of the nature of human beings and the nature of the society in which these human beings were developed. So the same things that you see and actions that you see from media covering presidential races or covering international politics, or you're going to see the same dynamic in boxing. And that was my theory going into it. And I was 100% right. These media guys are not interested in providing you information that is going to make you a better educated consumer. They are trying to get you to manufacture, if not consent, maybe manufacture your opinion, right? Or consent is close enough, right? And for the purpose of supporting what they want to do, right? So that's why you see these media guys like Steve Kim and Dougie Fisher and these guys pushing fighters as being the #1 pound for pound fighter in the world, when you with two eyes can look and see these dudes ain't that good. They're not that good. They're not so much better than what we have that it needs to be something that is just plastered all over the place. Vasily Lomachenko is not noticeably better than Pernell Whitaker. He is not noticeably better than Pernell Whitaker. He's not noticeably better than Floyd Mayweather Jr. He's not as good as Floyd Mayweather Jr. He's not as good as Pernell Whitaker. But Pernell Whitaker's and Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s and Deontay Wilder's are not the ones that they want in the front of the media to push and to cooperate with the narratives that they're giving in the other areas of human activity. So you will see a hard push for things that, like, for example, it is not for if what your goal is as a big media conglomerate is to make people happy with the status quo and to manufacture consent, right? In one area, it is not in your best interest in another area to have something else completely different going on, which is why I'm convinced that there are 17 different weight classes in the sport of boxing, and there's four different champions in every division, because every division, you can never say that boxing, right, which is the ultimate mano-a-mano sport, and I believe that even more so than MMA, right? Because it's a stand-up sport with very limited ways upon which you can attack somebody, right? There's nothing in it that people would consider to be less than honorable, right? Choking somebody out running up behind somebody and choking somebody out from the back is not considered honorable in that context. The rules of boxing have you look face to face with your man, and the only things you can use is your gloves, and the only place that you can contact are places that the fighter can see, not behind your back. Because isn't that what they call people who attack somebody from the back? A lily-livered coward. So if you look at the way that boxing is set up, and especially if you read the history of boxing in Britain and why they chose boxing as a means by which to work out different conflicts versus what the French did with stilettos, and stiletto meaning a blade, or let's take 3 steps back and turn around and shoot each other, right? It was more gentlemanly because the rules were defined. It was just your hands in a show of physical strength. It was not some manipulative process where you could trick somebody and attack them from the back, or if you have or you can murder somebody from a distance. So boxing, and especially when boxing came over as one of the best, the biggest of the 3 sports at the turn of the 19th century, which were, I believe, baseball, horse racing, and then boxing. They were very, very concerned about the idea that there would be black men were forging to the forefront of athletics, because they considered that to be an assault on the concept of white supremacy. And this is something that you get. I don't have the book here, but I have it on my Twitter page. And I think I can pull it up if I'll do it real quick just to kind of tie the knot together. But where's my Twitter? Go to my homepage. Profile. Yeah, so this is the turn of the century. This is what they said about boxing, right? In the New York Sun. We're in the midst of a growing menace. The black man is rapidly forging into the ranks of athletics, especially in the field of fisticuffs. We are in the midst of a black rise against white supremacy. Charles Dane, New York Sun, 1895. At the time, they believed that sports was a way to prove who was superior. And they want to be superior in every way: financially, physically, emotionally, sexually, whatever it is. That they purported, the people that believed that purported that the reason why they were given by God the task of running the world was because of their innate superiority. But when you getting your ass whooped in the middle of the ring and slapped over all over the place by a dude that you're supposed to be superior over, somebody might think, well, maybe you're not better than these guys, because they damn sure whooping your ass. That's my thought on it, man. And I know I went off into a ramble on that, but it is what it is. You get my point, man. Greeks didn't discover or invent shit. They learned from the blacks. Look, everybody learned something from somebody. Who said something about, oh, they wanted me to get on boxing? Who don't like what I got to say? I ain't got a problem with slapping you upside the head for it. Where you go? Where'd you go? Where'd you go? I'm looking for you. Where's the smoke? Oh, said I'm old. D-Style said I'm a fan of Chocolatito, but my God, do they overhype the dude? Man, Chocolatito was on another level of overhype, and he went Pop Goes the Weasel real quick. But anyway, that's my viewpoint on, man, and you guys can have your viewpoint on it. That's all good. You know, it is what it is. It is what it is. On another note, why do you think Holyfield versus Tyson sparring for charity? If it happens, RIP Roger Mayweather. I don't know why they're doing it. Probably for charity, you know? And they ain't got shit else to do. And they want to get back in the ring. And they want to feel that thrill again. You know, that's what they say professional athletes miss most. They miss the cheers. They miss the competition. You know, I know that feeling. I ran whenever I run, because my knees are too raggedy and I'm too overweight to run like I used to run. But on that one day when my knees aren't swollen at all and I'm feeling like good, man, it feels good to run. Like, you feel like you've gone back. Man, I feel like I just went back 30 years, man. Just wow. I can't believe I got sick of doing that. You know what I mean? Like, I can't believe that I got sick of running, got sick of jumping. Because now there's almost, I'd sell a couple of y'all down the river if I could go back to being able to long jump. Just be able to feel like, wow, man, I'm about to sprint down 117 feet. Plant my last two steps in 5. I would love it. I would love it. So Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, whatever the sensation that you guys get from boxing, just because you get older doesn't mean you wouldn't love to have that sensation again. You know, I believe that if people didn't age, there would be fighters that would fight forever, you know, because they love to fight. And that's what they were the best at doing. That's when they were the most happy. That's when they felt like they were at their absolute best. And so they might want to go back and relive that to the best extent that they can. You know what I mean? Same reasons, you know, some niggas call up old girlfriends or want to go to high school reunions, right? Want to go to college reunions because you want to experience that again. You want to be back with the same people you were in class with and used to kick it with every day. But, you know, now 20, 30 years later, if you see him once every 2 years, you're lucky. So I think, being an older guy, that more than likely that has something to do with it. Right? Not anything grand and Mike Tyson was probably working out, felt like shit, I'm getting fat. I don't want to die. I went to the doctor. I got high blood pressure. Man, let me get out of here and work. And as he's working out and throwing punches and running, he's like, man, this shit is fun. I can't believe that I used to not want to do this, that I got tired of this. Man, I want to get in the ring and fight. Man, I want to crack somebody. Man, I want to test out this hook. I bet I can lay somebody sideways. You know what I mean? That's what I would think it would be about. And then maybe there's some business people around them. Dude, this dude PED, didn't you get thrown out yesterday? You'd invented a new channel to come back and tell me I'm speaking nonsense. So Mike Tyson doesn't want to fight it. Get the fuck out of here, man. The mic is a little messed up. Is that better? All right, now I go. I had it on mute. Y'all don't have to tell me I was on mute. Oh, just as you said it, there's Texas, Triple D, Texas. Yeah, anyway, man, but go through the process yourself, man. Go through the process yourself of thinking about all this stuff. Because I'm just telling you what I've seen. You know what I mean? And the experiences that I've had and my thoughts on it. But I could be wrong. I'm not muted anymore, right? No, I'm not muted anymore. So anyway, what is this? Aram, not really many fights that will bring much money back into boxing, just a few big ones that some champs aren't willing to take. Well, no, I mean, there'll be money. It just depends, man. If the networks really want it, then the networks are going to have to pay a little more money. So I think that dude, I just went through a negotiation today, man. It was like, man, people are like just not very like, dude, there's a way to create value. So if you cannot have audiences there and but the network wants to have live events, you have to try to negotiate with the network and say, hey, yes, under the circumstances that we were at before, my costs were lower because relative to my relationship with you, because I could sell tickets. Now, because there are no tickets, my cost is higher. So I have to pass some of that cost on to the network. And so the network has to decide what amount of that money, of that increased cost, right? Well, let me see. No, the costs are the same, right? But make sure I say this right. If you have the cost, somebody that's got that, man, where's my CPAs when I need them? So if you have your costs are the cost of the fighters, right? And then your sources of revenue are the gate and whatever, among other things, the gate and whatever the fee is that the network pays, or the money that the network puts up. If you no longer have that one source of revenue, then your cost, the same equation doesn't work, right? So you have to say, hey, I either cannot put this on because I'm not going to put a fight on and take a loss, right? So will you, the network, help me cover some of this, right? Will you help me cover some of this? Because I'm still going to have to pay my fighters. But what it seems like Bob Arum's first thing is to tell the fighters, oh, you got to take the L. You got to take the L because, I don't have the money coming in from the gate. So you have to take less money. If I was the fighter, I would say, well, I don't know. Is that true? Bob, can you negotiate? Can you negotiate with the network to get a higher fee? Or Bob, have you negotiated for a higher fee? Because I need to know. Because if you're claiming that I can't get my money from the fee, but yet you are getting, from the gate, but you are getting a higher fee from the network, right? You need to pass some of that extra revenue on to me. So I just think that as far as making it work for the fighters, the fighters need to insist on a degree of transparency that the promoters might not necessarily feel comfortable with. So yeah, if you want me to fight in front of with no audience, and you're saying there's no gate, okay, well, let me see the books. Let me see the books. How much money are you making from the network? What are how much money is being made from the sale, the international sale of the rights or whatever you have? And I'd like to negotiate a bigger portion of that. Right? And if you got enough money in your pocket in your bank account and you weren't spending all your shit up buying Ferraris and doing shit like that, if you still got the money there, then you can either tell them yes or no. Now, I know what more than likely is going to happen over there with like an Errol Spence and Danny Garcia. They're going to say go pay-per-view. And they might decrease the cost of the pay-per-view, but then again, they may not decrease the cost of the pay-per-view. And we see where Bob Arum is saying we're going to have to charge less money for the pay-per-view. Why? I'd like to understand why he says that. Because my impression of the pay-per-view sales are this: that people that cannot afford pay-per-views don't buy them or already don't buy them. And many of the people that would buy the pay-per-view, you need to know whether or not this actually affected them to the point where they don't feel like they can pay the going rate. You know what I mean? So I would just say, make sure you validate, like as a fighter, to the extent that you can have the promoters be transparent with what the money, the comings and goings of the money, you still might make a pretty penny. If people are willing to negotiate and say, and if it's not just the promoter saying, hey, I'm not getting this revenue from the ticket sales, so I'm slashing your pay by 50%. Well, what do you base the 50% off of? And what? Yeah, okay, so you lost that revenue from the gate, but did you get any additional revenue from maybe renegotiating what your deal is with the network? Because my understanding is the network, and I might be wrong, but this is my understanding, that the network has a deal with the promoter, right? Like Bob Arum has the deal with ESPN. Terrence Crawford doesn't have the deal with ESPN. Bob Arum does. So if Bob Arum were to renegotiate his deal with ESPN to make it where they were like, yeah, we're not heavy hit. Yeah, we'll throw an extra couple quarters in there to make sure we can continue to get this content. Because on ESPN, they want live sports, right? So they know if they might be willing to pay more money for live sports than they were before, because the premium went up on live sports because there's not as much live sports, right? So when I heard that, I did a video about it today, but when I heard Bob Arum say that, I was like, man, boxers need to be real careful, man. Real careful with that, because he could actually turn that situation into something that works for him, works to his benefit. Theoretically, it could happen, right? He could say, all right, so how much money am I getting from the gate, right? I'm just going to come off the top of my head with this. All right, say the fighter keeps 50% of the gate, of the profits from the gate, and now there's no gate. Bob Arum was really getting 10, say he was getting 10%, 20% of the gate. So that's gone. But he negotiates with ESPN to increase the site fees by 30%, right? So even though he lost the audience, theoretically, he could actually, in his profit margin, increase, because he cuts the pay of the fighter, right? And then he makes up what money he lost from the from the gate going away. He makes that up in the fee that he pays that he gets paid by the network, which means that he really could come up ahead in the matter. And if that's the case, then there's no incentive for him ever to return to the pay structure that you had before, because it works for him. And I have a suspicion that Bob Arum would do some shit like that. CPAs, I know he's a lawyer, but CPAs are real good about that shit. A lot of people think you make money. You don't make your money off the revenue. Your money you make is off the profit. There's a difference between how much you spend and how much you charge. You know what I mean? And if Bob Arum had made $1 million off $5 million, right? That's more money than $900,000 off of $8 million. Because at the end of the day, it's the profit that you make. It's not how much you cop, it's what you keep. So y'all better be making sure that them little snakes don't have more money coming in than they told you about, and then lay on your head about you taking a pay cut. I see that shit coming, dude. Man, motherfuckers be getting over on people. Let me see. Jermaine Johnson said, Jermaine Johnson said, took a year off of basketball at 38, went back. A college female player gave me the business. Yeah, because they can shoot, dude. Them girls can ball, man. They said, Brian S. said, promoters never lose. Exactly, Fannon. Dude, man, look, I got a beloved family member that's like that. Like, I know, because I do the deals. I know how they work it. I write the deals, right? So that's my job, is to come up with the language that allows them to do that. And if your contract is not connected to the network contract, how do you know that how do you verify that this guy is actually losing money? And he's not using this as an excuse just to take some money out of your pocket and put it in his. You don't, unless you see the profit and loss statement. Unless you have your own accountant, your own CPA, look at the profit and loss statement for an individual fight, and you know the questions to ask. Be careful, because those promoters are starting to sing it. Bob Arum's like, oh, the fighters are going to have to know that these salaries are going down, and we may never get back to these ridiculous salaries we were paying. Man, as soon as Bob Arum said that, I was like, man, sounds like a good deal for you, huh? Because Bob Arum never wanted the salaries to increase to begin with. He never wanted the money to increase to begin with. He sued Al Heyman for instituting a model where you cut the promoter out, right? Because what does the promoter have to do now? They negotiate a deal with the network. They're not Bob Arum. If promoting was really about selling tickets now, right? And going out in the market, going out in the local marketplace where the fight is at, and getting people to buy tickets and pressing, and shaking hands and having the fighter doing a bunch of public appearances all over the city. If that was the case, Bob Arum would have been out of boxing at least 20 years ago, because he's 80-something years old. His ass ain't walking around doing none of that shit. Just want to know what you think about this fighter, Devin Haney. Devin Haney's a great fighter, man. I think he's a world champion, and he's a very good fighter. Fannon, will this pandemic ever end? Yes, but the ramifications of it will not. Shit's not going back to normal, dude. I would think that many things, and this is a reason why I think that it's not going to go back to normal. Because now you have a system where many businesses can operate off of a model where you do not need an office. So why would if I got a system where I don't need my workers to come into my office, they can work from their house, they can telecommute, why would I then bring them all back into the office, increase my costs, right? Increase my costs, decrease the work hours, right? Because now you're at home, you can work all damn day. I've worked at homes for years. Trust me. When you start working at home, your work hours expand. It's no longer 9 to 5, right? In the office talking to people because you're right across the table for them and you need to work with them. That's not the case anymore. It becomes a 24-hour work cycle for a lot of people. So a lot of those people are not going to go back into the office, which means they have to spend less money on office space, and since office space is a cost, right? If you get rid of it and you're still charging the same money that you have for your service, your product or service, you're actually making more money. You're actually making more money off of it. So no, I don't think that's going to change. And I don't think that that's going to go back in many instances. And I think that might be, whether that's a good thing or bad thing, I don't know. I think some changes are going to be good things. Oh, CJ said I'm keeping a 6-foot distance for life. What's going on, Cali Enigma? Workers being around one another increases lawsuits as well. Dude, it's a lot of stuff. Your insurance goes up because you got to insure the place that you are against, slip and falls, all kind of shit. If you don't actually need to be in a physical space with somebody, and it's more profitable for the business not to do it, and your workforce is used to that, they're not going to go back to that. You know what I mean? Like I had a debate one time, not too long ago before this happened. Not too long before this happened with a guy I was working for, right? Because we were talking about the money on, my contract. And I was like, look, man, we were negotiating. And he said, as one of the benefits, right? He said, as one of the benefits to me, he said, well, look, you get to work from home. And I said, that's a benefit to you. That's not a benefit to me. That's a benefit to you. You're moving your costs on to me by me working at home because I have to pay my own electricity. My electric bill goes up, right? I have to have a section in my house specifically for work. That's a cost for me. That saves you money because you don't have to buy me a phone because I have to have my own phone. I don't even give reimbursements for my cell phone, right? I have a cell phone that I pay the bill on. You don't pay the bill on. You don't have to pay for your office space. I have to pay for my office space. And then I have to take the cost of my office space off of my taxes. That's more work for me. Right. So, that ended that part of the discussion because I don't know if he realized that I knew. Obviously he would know that I would know that, but a lot of times people don't understand how that works. This is a big money saver for a lot of people. Now the difficulty, say sexual harassment lawsuits will go extinct. No, it won't. You can do that shit over the phone. You can do that over a text. Absolutely. You're still going to have people. You might not have somebody walking by you and rubbing your hair and doing shit like that. But say, for example, the guy determines that you have to work in the office, right? Then you can be like, I felt intimidated. Businesses know when they can function with this model. They have a month of data now. The data gathering is huge. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly, Brendan. My costs go up because of that. You know what I mean? And they absolutely positively do. Even like, for example, I've got 2 work laptops, right? I don't ever use them. I use this for the most part. So even like my communication with computers and all that, this stuff's on my hardware. It saves them money. So no, a lot of that stuff is I meant touching. Oh yeah, no, yeah, right. None of that, not a lot of it anyway. Less of it. Yeah. Kenny Skinny said a weak UFC card did better numbers than some of the biggest events. Bigger sports will creep back and boxing will thrive. Until then, all televised sports make way more in broadcast than gate. There you go. Cali Enigma, you can sexually harass somebody. Yeah, exactly. You can sexually harass somebody in the video chat, email, employer. Absolutely. I would suspect that that's the number one way to do it. I think that's probably the number one way to harass somebody is with texts and DMs and dick pics and shit like that. Fannon, you're right. That's what Twitter is doing, letting everyone that wants to work home keep working from home. Yeah, they're gonna. I mean, and it's cool, but you got to be careful, man, with that work from home stuff, dude. Oh, Bert says, so all my project management been online. Yeah, but see, a project manager, why do you need to go in? Bert, as a project manager, I don't know if you're an IT project manager, but what does an IT project manager need to go into an office for? Most of the time, you're working in decentralized projects, right? Even if you're in a law, because I used to work at State Farm. You know, one of my customers was State Farm, and I spent a lot of time working like in State Farm's IT department, right? Which is a massive building. I mean, massive. God, dog, them boys got money. They don't, Fannon. Oh, exactly. You don't have to. Yeah. That shit is. Shit. My niece is a Scrum. She's a Scrum expert. Is that right? I think she's not Six Sigma. Is a Scrum, whatever that methodology is. She's a PM for that. She had a baby. And then after she had a baby, the pandemic started. Shit, she's at home working like it ain't shit. They said a lot of kids don't want to play together because if one coughs, they're sick. Things have definitely changed. Yeah. Now the sports thing is going to be interesting. I think that they're going to make exceptions for all kinds of sports and test athletes and all that because they're going to have to entertain somebody. Otherwise, there's too much. If you don't give somebody sports entertainment, it's not hard. It's not easy enough. It's not easy to distract them from the real shit going on. But anyway, man, much love in the chat, man. It was a lot of fun today. I know I was chopping it up about a lot of different things. Oh, I missed the super chat. It came in towards the end. Came in a second ago. Hold on one second. I gotta say thank you, man. Rashard Muhammad, much love, man. Appreciate that in the super chat. Thank you. And thank everybody else. Thank you to everybody else that held down the chat today. It's much appreciated. What is a Scrum? No, Scrum is like it's a project methodology. It's a project management methodology. It's a way that you go about managing projects that have more than a few people on it. Okay, so let me make sure that that's what it's called. That it's Scrum. Yeah, Scrum Master. Yeah. So Scrum. Yeah. All right. So this is what project managers do. Just real quick. Dwayne Jordan said, "Great info about working, man. Thank you." Scrum. A project manager does this. Their job is to get everybody that's working on a project to go along and get things done on time. The more people that you add to a project, the more communication you need to have built into your project in order to make sure that it gets done on time, that it gets done within budget, so forth and so on, right? So Scrum is like an agile. I don't know what Scrum is, the difference between Scrum and Six Sigma and maybe some like, a PMN, like the PMP, but those are just different methods by which you organize and plan projects in different environments in order to make sure that they get done on time and on budget, right? Because like a lot of mistakes people make is that they think that exactly. Bert from Artigan said it keeps the communication levels clear, right? Less interruption, better time allocation. So, but Bert, yeah. So you would say it's pretty much that same. It's that concept that the more people that you have working on a project, right, the more you're going to need to have communications between them and some structured way and time frames. And there are things like, the time frame, you have milestones, you have tasks, you have dependencies, you have risks, you have all these things you need to calculate, that you need to document, and people need to be made aware of in order to push people all the way through to build what they're building, right? It could be a house, it could be a software application, it could be anything. You know what I mean? Bert said, "Oh, I did that in Rig for 4 years." Yes, sir. Is Scrum like a production planner? I'm not sure. I mean, I couldn't tell you because I don't know enough about it. But I understand project management methodologies. It's just a way that you go about organizing a project. But anyway, it is what it is. Man, make sure you go over to KQKC Boxing, who's coming up right now. And I'm going to holler at you guys tomorrow. Much love to everybody in the chat, everybody in the super chat. And with that, I'm out. Peace.